Before this.
It's okay because we're live now. and welcome, you guys.
What's going
Really, a
on,
lot of
everybody?
things happening on the platform. And I wanted to bring Marcus on to kind of just talk about some of these interesting changes that are going on. I'm sure you all have heard of the bad buyer experience coming back into play. And we're going to talk about what that means for resellers. If you guys have comments or questions, just drop them in the comment section. We'll circle back to them. But yeah, what do you think's going on with this, Marcus? Like, how do you think it's gonna impact, resellers?
Well, the most obvious thing that we need to be keeping into consideration is that it's all about best policies and anything to begin with, right? So what I think and what my opinion is this isn't really going to affect anyone that's already doing the job the way that they should be doing it to begin with. But another thing that I heard from Josh Galt, who said that he got this from a trusted source, not just an opinionated source, was that this is only going to affect buyers in the southeast of Asia right now. So I don't know if this is a right now or if this is a just for now type of thing, and then it's going to
Right.
trickle over into other people in different countries, nations, or if it's going to eventually touch us here in the US. But I
Yeah.
feel like there's going to be a lot of people panicking right now, like, oh no, because they're already in high range or whatever the case may be, because they're getting negative or neutral feedbacks. But my thing is, my thing is just do the job the way that you're supposed to do it, then you won't have to worry about it. Um, Unfortunately.
Yeah. And yeah, there's a lot of speculation going on, like in Heaven Sent Smoking Channel just said that we really don't know. But yeah, from what I've heard, I mean, I've heard it applies to US, it doesn't. Whether it does or it doesn't right now, I think it's just a good way to like refine our business.
Yeah.
Most people that are like watching YouTube videos about reselling, they're usually doing it with the intention to try and get better. So, like, if you're already trying to get better, I don't think that this type of policy will even apply to you because you're
Yeah.
already putting in those best practices in.
Yeah.
And, it talks about like simple, like item not as describes, things like that where it could affect your account. Um, in a different way as previously you'd have to, I mean, you still do, but you have to pay a higher percentage once you start going in that very high
Yeah.
range.
Yeah.
And I think that that can be overlooked because if you are doing a lot of volume, that extra 5% does add up.
It adds up.
You're
Yeah.
you're paying
But
significantly more in fees.
that's another bonus though when someone is doing volume, because say you are doing volume and you get 1,500 sales in a month, right? Or, that's pretty decent. Say you get 5 defects, that's not going to add up to nothing. You know what I mean? Like, you're not even gonna be sweating 5 defects because you're gonna be like a drop in the size of the ocean. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But say you're only selling 150 items in a month and you get 5 defects, it's gonna make your metrics shoot up to you're
Yeah.
not gonna be in the average range, you're gonna be in the above average or high range. And then that's when you're gonna be sweating, you're gonna be feeling that. So obviously, the easy answer is to just sell more items, but the correct answer is to sell the same amount of items the most accurate and efficient way possible. That way
Yeah.
defects aren't something that you even worry about.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of what we talk about in the group is
Yep.
we've had one guy in particular, but several other people where we helped them try to basically sell as many items as possible, whether that meant selling items for significantly less profit, but at the same time, you're not paying that extra
Yeah.
5% fee to kind of get out of that range.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty interesting. I think it's going to help hold newer resellers more accountable. And I'm talking about like if this does get rolled out in the US, we don't know for sure if it is or is not,
Yeah. We don't know
but
yet.
it's
We'll
like a
have to
good
wait till
heads up.
like the 12th, the 11th or the 12th to really
Right.
start seeing the effects of this. And
Mhm.
even then, I feel like we'll probably have to wait until well into January or February even to see what the after effects of this are, because there's been things that happen that eBay puts the kibosh on immediately because we go in an uproar about it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like a lot of people will say, "Oh, eBay's against us. eBay doesn't care about us. eBay hates us. They're just worried about their own money in their own pockets." But at the end of the day, if enough of us have a problem with something that causes a rift in the way things are going, eBay has put, things, they've stopped things that they've
Mhm.
implemented because people didn't like it. Case in
Yeah.
point, changing the custom SKU search option on your overview page was going to be removed. I even put in the negative feedback about that. And guess what?
Yeah.
I can still sort my orders by custom SKU.
Yeah.
They listen. They listen
Yeah.
if it matters enough.
For sure. Now that a lot more of their profits are coming from sellers rather than buyers,
Hmm.
the one of the things they don't want to do is make too many sellers upset with the platform where they leave.
Yeah.
So not only are buyers leaving, but if sellers are leaving, that's a
Yep.
whirlwind down spiral to the pit of hell, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Absolutely.
I think it's going to be good for people like the buyer's end because there are a lot of bad actors out there shipping things in
Yeah.
pizza boxes,
Yep.
shipping stuff covered in hair, shipping
Shipping
out.
hats and poly bags.
Yeah, there's a lot of best practices that should not be done that I think that eBay's just trying to tighten things up, so I want to go over like the evaluation, how they're going to rank
Let's
you.
do it.
So like the evaluation consequences,
Hey,
um
remove that comment from the screen so we could see your whole screen.
oh yeah.
There you
All
go.
right. So, yeah, so this is how they're going to evaluate it, and let's just like pretend it is getting rolled out in the US and see how it can affect us.
Yeah.
So when the buyer complains or when the bad buyer experience rate is lower than the peer market average,
Hmm.
so that's kind of like your service metrics. So if your
Yep.
service metrics are in the very high or in below average, that's how you're going to be kind of weighted on that scale. So not a non-complaint is the bad buyer experience rate is higher than the peer market average, but eBay may not take action due to account is currently restricted by other eBay policies or other
Mhm.
reasons. So they
Yeah.
say warning. The bad buyer experience rate is higher than the peer market average. Sellers must strengthen the product and service, control, and improve buyers' buying experience. Otherwise, eBay may take action. So the action that they take is the BBE rate is much higher than the peer market average. eBay decides to take action. Sellers may be subjected to various actions as specified above.
Yeah.
So,
Well, what
um,
that tells me is they're not playing. If
mm,
whoever's falling under this um category, they're going to be held to a higher regard than just the standard INAD procedure. What that sounds like to me. So while INADs, for instance, if you get a certain percentage against your ratio of amount items you sell,
yeah,
then it's probably going to be a much lower ratio compared to the amount of defects you're getting. So I think we need to be mindful of what we're doing, so that way we can be ahead of the curve. Say say for INADs, it's like 1% to 100. Maybe
mhm,
for BBE program, it's 10% to 100. So we need to be just trying to do the best job that we can, honestly.
yeah. So some of the things that may be scary if you do fall into that very high range,
Hmm.
they aren't playing around, so they may go ahead and end your items and remove listings for you.
Yeah,
They
that's
may
like best case
adjust.
scenario.
Yeah, yeah, adjusting your selling limits. So instead of able to send,
Mm,
uh, 100 grand, in a month,
yeah,
then you're going to be significantly restricted on that end. They're going to hold your
yeah,
payments.
that's worse.
Um, Enforcing buying and selling restrictions. And then I think
Mm,
the last and final one, which would be a
suspending.
suspension. Yeah.
Mm, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm very interested in to see how this is all going to play out. And then what's going to be the panic effect of when we start seeing any type of repercussions taken from this? Is it
Mm,
going to send everybody into an uproar, or
yeah.
is it going to be the anxiety factor, like we're worrying over nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most of the time, I heard a study by Craig Groeschel, the YouVersion Bible app guy, that said that 90% of the things that we worry about never come to fruition.
Yeah.
And then
Yep.
10% that's left over, only 5% of that stuff that we were worried about that came to fruition was as bad as people thought it was. So 10% of stuff we worry about only happens or 5% of the 10% we worry about only happens. And then it's not even that bad if it does. So, like, there's a 5% factor that this could go awry and be totally messed up. So I think as Baltimore SK said, you just got to bring your A game now. And I think that's pretty much it, man. As long as we're just doing the best that we can, it's already in the rules. We're already supposed to be doing this stuff. So
Yeah.
just follow the rules, you know?
Yeah, when you approach your business from a place of like professionalism, these are things
Yeah,
that are like non-negotiables in your business. Like, hey, we don't
exactly.
ship stuff out in mac and cheese boxes. Hey, we don't
Yeah,
step on our items before we ship them out. And
yeah,
another thing is we do not lose our integrity and morals like shipping out the wrong item, like purposely to deceive the customer,
mm,
like scamming people.
yeah,
But eBay's full of scams, and
yeah,
I think that this can be a really good thing for people who are already applying the best
yeah,
practices because it's going to weed out all of those people that are the bad actors.
yeah.
And there's a lot on eBay,
There is a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot on eBay and there's a lot on YouTube as well. And then when it comes
100%.
down to it, we got people that and I was even guilty of it myself when I first got on YouTube. I was trying to teach people how to do eBay and I had just started doing eBay. So
Hmm.
my content switched. I stopped trying to teach people how to do something I had no idea how to do and start showing people, me doing research on items in the bins. And I did that
Hmm.
for a year till I gained enough knowledge to know what to sell to be able to make 100K, you know.
Hmm.
Then I start trying to teach people something again. But even at the beginning and the inception of my channel, I was a fraud too, trying to teach people how to do something I had no business teaching. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
people out there that was like me when I started, a phony trying to teach people something. You
Yeah.
can't teach something until you have something to teach.
Well, and I've always thought too, and that's 100% is like you don't really know something until it's like memorized in your heart. Like if you can't
Yeah,
explain the concepts of what you're
yeah,
doing without like
yeah,
something in front of you,
hmm,
then you really don't know it, right?
yeah.
And it
That's
just like
true.
you said, it takes years to really
Yeah,
grind that axe of going to the
yeah,
bins and figuring out what sells. You can't tell people what sells if you
yeah.
haven't sold
If
that
you don't
item
know what
before,
sells, exactly.
right?
Which I had a comment on my Instagram this morning. I put a short out yesterday that was asking, what can I do to provide value? What things do you want to see from me, and how can I help you grow your business? And there was a
Mhm.
comment that someone asked and said, how about to see what you're picking up, not what you're selling? But in my opinion, the more
Mhm.
valuable information would be what is selling, not what I'm picking up. However, with that being said, I don't pick up and they wanted to know what my strategy was of looking items up. I don't I don't look things up the way you guys think that I do, guys, because I'm just picking the same thing up that I've already sold before. If I've sold it once or if I've sold it 10 times, then that means I can sell it 20 times. So I just continue to pick the same thing up. When I look something up, it's because I've never seen it before or it's been a while since I found it and I need to make sure that it still sells for the same amount. So for me, I don't overcomplicate this stuff. I'm not picking up a bunch of vast different items that are like so far removed from what I'm selling on an everyday basis. So therefore, I keep it simple. So seeing what I pick up is the same thing as seeing what I'm selling because I continue to pick up the same things. If you guys
Yeah.
watch my videos enough, you'll see I'm selling the same stuff over and over again.
Mhm. Yeah, I think once you first start out, you get into that habit of looking stuff up, and then you think that that's what you need to do like for years. And
Yeah,
same with me is that I look stuff up, but not like I used to, because I
yeah,
am picking up the same like, you find a real specific niche within clothing. Like, for
yeah,
me, it's kinda like plus size tops,
yeah,
older demographic clothing. It's like, yeah, the Alfred Dunner, The all of the Coldwater Creek, the J. Jill,
Yeah.
the Eileen Fisher, some
Yep.
Talbots thrown in there. But that's what I'm selling. It may
Yeah.
take a year to sell, but I'm gonna go out and keep why would I start now selling football jerseys? Because that's
Mhm.
just gonna take more time looking that
To
stuff up.
learn it, and then you gotta worry about
Yeah,
fakes, and then you gotta worry about this
yeah,
and that, and so I get it, and well, like with me, it's I've sold this stuff over and over and over again to where I know
mhm,
how much up to what I can pay for this item.
yeah,
So it's not even like I'm going into the thrift store and be like, "Well, here's this item that I get at the bins for $1.50. They have it here
mhm,
at the thrift store for 7.99. Is it worth it at this price?" I already know that I don't need to go in and look up the comps to compare how much money I'm going to make profit wise because I've already done the math. I've done the math from the eBay fee calculator all the way down to $3 to know what my break even price is. I can't
mhm,
sell anything for less than $3 and make any money on it. It's just not going to
yeah,
happen. And then when I do, I'm only going to make a few cents. So um, it just comes into to putting the reps in, doing the same thing over and over again. You don't there's people out there that look every single item up still every single day. And there's nothing wrong with that.
mhm,
But eventually you learn to narrow it down to what works the best for you and what moves the fastest for you and what
yeah,
speeds up your time actually picking up items in the thrift. Uh, don't just go in there willy-nilly, but when you get enough reps in and you see that, okay, I keep looking these jeans up and they go for 25 bucks. Maybe you don't have to look that particular item up anymore. Move on to something else and then get you a handful of brands, handful of style types that you don't have to do that with, and then it's going to
yeah,
be easier on you.
yeah. Takes out a lot of the, what is it?
The legwork,
Resistance.
yeah,
Yeah, like,
makes it less difficult on you for sure.
it makes thrifting and going to the bins way more enjoyable. I think like the more that you do look it up, just you're gonna have equipped with such knowledge that now every time you do go out, looking up things is pretty much a thing in the past. It
Yeah,
is good to like check the markets on stuff from time to time, but like if you're a
yeah,
part of the Discord, we do that very often. When people
very
come
often.
across things they find, we're like,
Yeah,
we're learning
did
new
it today.
things because
I did it this
yeah,
morning actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think you should ever stop in your pursuit of learning the markets of what you're selling, and this
Mhm.
goes beyond clothing, right? Just
Yeah.
all things that you're selling, but you don't need to be like, oh my goodness, I can't find any blue Talbot's linen shirts size small
Yeah.
sold. Well,
Doesn't need to
maybe you
be
don't have to
exact.
go that specific. Yeah,
Yeah.
so but yeah, like going back to how we like rolled into that topic was like just weeding out a lot of the bad actors and a lot of
Yeah.
people that are, really pulling the platform down. Like eBay has all the data and the metrics,
Mhm.
and they wouldn't be doing this if they didn't see something in the
Yeah.
numbers to where like, hey, we need to kind of tighten things down.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not like the wild wild west anymore.
Right.
Especially since we've seen in their quarterly reports that buyers are continuing to leave the platform.
I think that's the biggest thing of it right there is they're like,
Mhm,
what can we implement to stop this from happening? Because client acquisition is a very large, I think I heard a statistic at one point in time, something ridiculous. Like it costs $2 million to get one buyer on the platform.
mhm,
That's ridiculous
yeah,
if you think about it. Because if that one buyer is only spending $800 a month, I think, or a year was the metric, then that's a costly acquisition.
ooh,
So yeah, they're you dang right they're going to do something to get rid of people that are pushing them away. So
mhm,
they can tell which buyer they had the last shopping experience with. So
mhm,
say Bo was the last person this person dealt with before they
mhm,
never came back to the platform before. They're going to start putting, a ban on Bo's items if he
yep,
continues to do this with other people. They track
mhm,
that behavior. So you guys definitely want to be mindful of being the best you can be overall.
100%, and, that just comes with, like, having a set standard, like, with any business and any job that I've worked before is there's, like, protocols, what the
Yeah.
SOPs, standard operating procedures on how we
Procedure.
do
Yep.
the business, and, like,
Yeah.
let's just talk since we're clothing resellers, but there's a way to store the items. There's a
Mhm.
way to clean the items. There's a way to assign a SKU number to the items so they don't get lost. Like
Yeah.
everything has a operating procedure of how we do these things.
Yeah.
Like would if your standards are like storing your items in a big giant ball in the corner, then there's
Yeah,
other things that could go wrong. You could lose the items.
exactly.
The items could
Yeah,
get moldy,
yeah.
the items could get
You can
slept
get a
on by
spider
cats.
on it. Yeah,
Yeah, here's some
yeah,
spiders. There you go.
yep,
So yeah, there's like some standards you got to set in your business, and while everyone has different, values, I value the customer getting what they've ordered, and
yeah,
not any compromise around that.
yeah,
So yeah, it's good. It may seem bad and intimidating to start, and we don't even know if this is going to be 100% in the U.S. But
yeah,
also too, like you have to wonder, from a big business point of view, they're probably just trying this out in other countries first
yeah.
to see how it reacts to that
Well,
marketplace.
I think, and I don't remember who it was saying this, but I heard someone saying that it's probably due to like the Alibabas and
Mm,
the
drop
the
shippers,
drop shipping type of people. Like that's it's I think directly or directed towards those types of clients for the time being. But we may never even see this. Like I said, we could be making a and not I mean me and you. I don't mean me and you by the we. I mean the all of YouTube, eBay resellers,
right?
and we could be making a big deal out of nothing. You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
this could never even be something that affects us. But because of quite a few substantial people have talked about it, everybody's in an uproar over it. You
yeah.
know?
It's good to bring awareness. And
Yeah.
other than that, you're right. Like, how many things that have happened this year on eBay where people kinda
Yeah.
made it bigger than it was, like, "Search
Yeah.
is broken. Oh my god, I can't find my item
Yeah.
specifics. I can't list my listings. Oh, my draft bank's gone." And it's like, that passes and people forget about it.
Yeah. Well, see, just
But
like Stefan just said in the bottom of the chat, I'm just worried because I have a lot of neutrals. Well, and
mm,
I mean this in the most respectful way without knowing you or why you have your neutrals. But if you have a lot of them, then that means you're doing something that you need to address inside your business or inside your listings. Either you're not like looking at your product well enough, you're not testing your product, you're not packing it well enough. I don't understand what the neutrals are for because I haven't seen them, but something's going on for you to have a lot of them. Because I want to put things in a perspective for you. I've sold 17,000 items almost, and I've had 22 neutrals out of all 17,000, and that's for the whole career of my eBay. So I just want you to put that into perspective. I've had five negatives my whole eBay career that are on my account. So it doesn't. It's something with what you're doing that can be fixed. That's the good news. It can be fixed. You don't have to get a lot of them. Uh, but without knowing you personally and what's going on with your defects, I can't really tell you why. But if it's a lot, that's got to be something that you're doing that can be
right.
fixed, and you won't have to have that problem anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just one of the way they evaluate you on this upcoming change. But yeah,
Significantly
so
not as described.
yeah, we already know that that's not good because they'll hit you with the
Yeah,
extra fees, like the
yeah.
doesn't work defective, it doesn't match description or photos, you sent
I
the
just
wrong
got one of
item.
those yesterday.
Yeah, and they happen, they
Yeah,
happen, and that's fine, especially if you sell something tricky like clothing or you sell, electronics, you're gonna have them. It's just important that you don't have too many of them, right? Or when you
yeah,
do, you kind of start to really reanalyze, what am I doing in my
yeah,
business that I can avoid these in the future?
yeah.
So,
Or if
um,
it's in my situation that doesn't match description or photos, return is because the item doesn't fit. We talked about this in the Patreon last night. I had
yeah.
someone reach out to me for a Nike Thermofit hoodie. The style
Mhm.
code comes back to a men's, but they're saying that it's not a men's, it's a kid's. I don't
Mm,
make the rules. Nike's style code comes back to a men's item. This is a
yeah,
doesn't fit return, and the guy still opened up a doesn't match description or photos. Now, while this can be beaten, I can get this removed. If I was to have what this was my last shot before going into high range, this would push me over the edge. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you can do everything you can right sometimes and still, not be your fault. And someone opens up a false INAD.
yeah. Yeah, it's good to be familiar with ebay.com/seller
Seller
help.
help. Yep.
and report the buyers where you think that, hey, this is an error, because buyers
Yeah.
also aren't very, proficient at the platform.
Yeah.
I've gotten many doesn't match description for photos, and
Yeah.
really was just a doesn't fit, and the buyer goes,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, I actually didn't
Yeah.
know, I just clicked the button,
Yep.
but they don't know that it affects sellers in a
Yeah.
negative way. So report
Absolutely.
them. There's nothing wrong with report. Like when I say report them, like you're going into eBay and you're waving a flag on this transaction, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
I don't think that the buyer was
Yeah.
right. Here's my case." You'd be
Yeah. Help
surprised on
me.
how many get overturned.
Yeah.
The other one we kind of know about, like you and I, but canceling
Yeah.
for out of stock option is like one of the worst
It's pretty bad.
killers you can
Yeah.
do to your account. If you were
Yeah.
canceling for being out of stock, just takes a couple times and your account is severely restricted. So, I personally try to stay away from ever doing that. If anything, if I am mislabeled something or I can't find the item, I'll message the buyer and just let them know, rather than for canceling for out of stock. Better to just refund them the money and just say,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know what
Yeah.
happened. So I don't even know why they put that on there, kind of like to bait and switch a lot of maybe new resellers. This one I just checked the other day. I don't check it very often, but like the stars that you get on the feedback rating, the low detailed seller rating is something that they're going to be implementing. If you get a 1 or a 2 or a 3 star, that's probably going to be a huge hindrance to your account. Um, I think the lowest one I have is like shipping price, but um, I don't check it very often. And then like feedback too is like, you've sold 17,000 items in the whole grand scheme. It's like what, 22 neutrals, 5 negative. If you're doing things correctly and up to code, um, then that shouldn't be an issue, right?
Right. Right.
So yeah, just
Um,
wanted to bring like some awareness to this, you guys. We don't know if it's 100% coming in the US, but hey, if it does, I would just say pretend that it is. Like, why would we
yeah.
want to be slacking off and doing the bare minimum? I think we should all, hold ourselves accountable and try the best that we
Yeah.
can to make it a nice buyer experience.
Yeah.
So, I'm just pretending that it is coming into effect. eBay wants to make the platform better, so I'm just going to try to
Yeah.
do my best that I can,
Yeah. You want me to step my game up? I'm on. I'm with it. Let's do
for
it.
sure. Yeah, appreciate you all. I want to get into the chat. We kind of got into that. We don't know if it applies to the US
Yeah.
quite yet. I'd flip that. It says hello. What's going on? Yeah, daytime for Marcus.
Yeah, this is well, we were doing it Wednesday night, but it was just a bad time for the both of us, so we switched it to Friday day. So you will see the two of us during a daytime podcast to see us as a united front.
Yeah, yeah, 3 hours of Zoom calls and doing the live,
Yeah.
and then you
That
wake up
stuff
at like
adds up.
4 in the
And then
morning
I
that
work up at
morning.
4:30 the next day,
Yeah.
so yeah, it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
Hey Bo, check the private chat real quick. Read that message I sent to you. Just real quick. And then Baltimore, well, Paul says, funny thing about BBE is the most of the stuff outside of the feedback is all seller level categories. Yeah. Yeah. With this whole thing, man, like I said, I don't want us to just, focus solely on it because like what if it never happens? What if we never get affected by it? So um no sweat.
Yeah. Pretty crazy. So, funny thing about the BBE is most stuff outside of feedback is all seller level categories. Yeah. I know. Bring your A game. Yep. The 100%. Hey,
Scusi.
how's it going from the
Scoose.
UK?
What's up? How you doing?
Appreciate you. With YouTube resellers, the percentage of what happens is probably even less. Most on here worry about every damn thing.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do. Yeah, they
You've
do.
seen probably quite a few things that were a little bit blown out of proportion.
Oh yeah. This year alone
Oh,
has just been crazy.
I mean, the 2 previous years doing eBay, I've never seen this much drama,
No, not at all.
changes.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been
I
a whirlwind
remember
this year, man.
when they changed over the listing tool, everyone was freaking out. "Oh my
Yeah,
goodness, now I gotta learn this whole new thing, and
yeah,
I'm gonna quit eBay just because of this." And
yeah.
now no one says nothing about
No
it.
one's
Who
yeah.
cares?
And see, like with me, like I got automatically put into it when I first started listening from the phone to the computer
Mm,
anyway. So I didn't have
mhm.
no experience with the old tool, you know. So
Yeah,
it was fine to me. I was like, what's everybody crying about? You know what I mean?
yeah. Burnt Popcorn says, "Nothing beats experience."
Yep, that's right.
And what's going on, Bobby?
Hey, Bobby.
Oh my, you really sell Alfred Dunner. Are you going I'm gonna try that?
Yeah, I'm gonna
Well, it's
try
up to
that.
you. Um, do you have to pick up specific things within that brand?
Yeah. It's gotta
You
be
know,
like a good pattern and the right thing because you can get those Alfred Dunner like
pants.
what are they called? Pont pants? Like this those are not good. Don't pick them
Yeah.
up. Not even new at tags. So
Nope.
Mike,
Mike, what's
should
going on? Appreciate you. Melissa says,
Melissa.
"Good morning. Good to see you,
What's up,
Melissa."
Melissa? She's probably gone by now.
Bobby says, "Griff from eBay said it was not for USA right now." Yeah. I'm just worried because I have a lot of neutrals. Yeah, I mean, you can only go up from here. I think if you just keep working at getting better, the initial result is you slowly getting better. So, like, just being a little bit more
Yeah,
detailed when you take your photos, at your
yeah,
description, at your titles, checking every single item specific that matches with the item you're listing. Those little things can compound. If you have a
yeah,
2,000 item store and half of them are all mislabeled, that's just a bomb waiting to happen.
yeah.
Um, oh, okay, cool, Bobby. Yeah, I'll check that out. That's good. Yeah, there has been no confirmation on whether this is 100% for US or, like you said, Marcus, in
Mhm.
Asian countries. So we'll see. But it's supposed to take place, what, the 11th, 13th?
That's what it said, the 11th.
Yeah, 11th. Okay. The article is really broad because it just says
Yeah,
starting December 11th, sellers will be evaluated on the number of transactions with bad buyer experience. It
yeah,
doesn't say like specifically where, though it is
yeah.
on the
I
eBay
think that's on
expert website.
purpose.
Yeah.
I think
S-
that's on purpose because they
Right.
probably don't understand fully how it's gonna go either. They wanna have
Hmm.
a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah. Yeah. Burnt Popcorn says you have to be careful with clothes. Yeah, absolutely. This is why I offer returns, just to kind of show the
Yeah,
transparency because can be a lot of problems with clothing. If you don't
yeah,
have returns, then people don't know, like, well, what if the item's stained? Like, not a lot of people point out defects, like, just for that
yeah,
reason. Like,
yeah.
they may throw up a pair of Levi's, but there's a blowout hole in the back and they don't take a picture of it.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yep. So let's see. Let's see, Robert. Not all categories are created equal when it comes to feedback left by sellers. 21,000 sold items, zero negatives, two returns, three
Nice.
neutrals, or four
Congratulations.
years. If I had to guess, my buyers are 55 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, so it does matter the type of item you're selling. It does matter who you're selling it
Mhm.
to as well. So a lot of that is going to come into effect because the person that just gave me this doesn't match description or photos is like under 20 years old. So sometimes, people don't, I don't know, I don't know why people do what they do, but you definitely have a certain level of handling things in a business like manner when it comes to
Right.
people that have experience and wisdom.
That,
Grateful for that.
you know, you can be very mature for your age, but
Yeah.
typically the older, they can be a little bit more reasonable. And that's
Yeah.
why I love selling older demographic clothing
Yeah.
because I can
Alfred Dunner.
usually, yeah, that buyer is usually,
More
probably an
gracious.
older lady that's just, like, a little bit more,
Yeah.
less hostile, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever, but that's just how I
Those
see
are
it.
great
But yeah,
metrics, Robert, though. Mm,
Steven says, it just has been recently. People just don't like the fit, but I have measurements in the photos."
they're not looking at the photos, Stefan. Or it might be Steven. I don't know how you pronounce your name, but they're probably not looking at the photos because they don't look at my photos and they don't read descriptions. So they're just buying it based off what they know to fit. So like we had this conversation inside our Patreon the other day. A
Mhm.
person was asking about a measurement. And so me personally, I wear a medium-sized t-shirt, but if you measure some smalls, it comes to an 18, which is what
Yeah.
my personal t-shirts measure to. But now
Mhm.
I've been buying larges because some of them don't measure the way that I need them to. And so some of my mediums are fitting like small, some of my mediums are fitting like larges. Some of my larges fit like mediums. It just depends on the brand. So the best thing that you can do, like I helped the guy in the Patreon, was I asked what brand of the jacket he was looking for. And I looked up the size chart for that particular brand. And we found out that the item that he had was an extra large, but I said it was a large to begin with. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
then that's just where it comes into just doing a little bit more research for yourself to find out the proper fit, because if you've never sold that item before and you have no idea how that fits. I know Carhartt fits oversized, but compared to like a American Eagle t-shirt, a large is a 21 to 22 across. But in Carhartt that's like a 24. So pit to pit, so you just got to know the brand that you're selling sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. All especially with women's clothing like Chico's,
Yeah,
Torrid, they all
yeah,
just have different sizing. So
it's
clothing
like
is
vanity
really
sizing. Yeah,
challenging. Oh my goodness.
yeah.
I would say like my first 2 to 3,000 items was just a learning experience. Like
Yeah.
I learned where to take inseam, where to take,
Yep.
cuff or collar to cuff measurements. All this is um the buyers who do look, you got to be accurate at that because um just to help cut down returns and things like that and figuring
Yeah.
out all the item specifics. I do like it because I like a challenge, but I do think that it's a harder like higher barrier to entry, like
Yeah.
learning of all these different styles. And it's like not saying like other categories aren't, but clothing is definitely a little more tricky. I think it is one of the bigger categories that has the most required item specifics. So
Yeah.
versus like
And it
a
just has
video
a high
game.
return rate in
Yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like the challenge, and now it's like no turning back. Now we're both almost 3 years into this, where it's like
Mhm.
we've already developed the skill. Might as well just
Yeah.
keep going. I'm not going to
That's
start
what I
selling
do. Yeah.
knives.
No.
Like when I list something that's random, I know you don't do it very often, but I will just because from that storage unit.
Yeah.
Um, it's like, man, I'm so glad I don't sell that anymore. Like I had to ship out these small speakers, and I'm like bubble wrapping them, double boxing them,
Mhm.
and it took me
Yeah.
like 5 to 7 to 10 minutes to get it well packaged, and
Yeah.
like then I'm going back to shipping out jeans, and it's like
Mhm.
30 seconds done,
Yeah.
on to the next.
Yeah.
So I think there's a place for both, but if I was doing both, my shipping would take a lot longer.
I think
Um,
nowadays there is a place for both.
right. Yeah. What's up, Andy? Good to
But
see
Andy,
you. Flipping sports guy. What's going on? Mike J. Question: would you suggest quitting my job to continue selling on eBay?
no, I would not. It just
Yeah.
depends. How much money do you make on eBay, and how much money do you make at your job? And then you got to consider, if you were to quit your job right now, how much money you need to have saved up to be able to have eBay pay for all your bills, still buy inventory, still buy supplies, still cover everything that you needed to cover. Because if you just abruptly quit your job and eBay's only bringing you 5 sales a day and those are $10 sales, you're not going to be able to survive that way. So build your eBay up to where it more than covers with everything. And then once you figure that what you're making takes care of everything, then by all means go ahead and quit. But don't do it abruptly or haphazardly, because I did that. I trust me, it didn't work for me. I was struggling for about the first year of all of this.
Mm.
So
Yeah, and I love the way of growing slowly, whether you have a job or not, but just using the profit from the business to go buy more inventory rather than taking money out of savings to go buy
yeah,
inventory and you don't see the sales yet.
right.
Too much risk there,
Yeah.
especially when you're new. But I, as well, Marcus, like I got I went from real estate to as an agent to
Mhm.
this, and I wish I had stayed at a more consistent job so I could really grow it maybe a little bit faster.
Yeah.
But yeah, once you make that jump, it's the pressure's on. Like you
Yeah.
need to treat it like a job, or you
100%.
ain't gonna get paid. Like you got to have a schedule. You need to
Yep.
stay disciplined. Like what happens if you show up to a job and you don't do the work?
Yeah. You're
You're
gonna
not
get
gonna last
fired.
long. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not gonna last long. You gotta put some standards there. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Andy says, "So this is where you've been, Paul. Where you been, Paul? Basket Noodle, eBay, and others have to deal with counterfeiting, or the government is going to regulate third-party e-commerce." End of story. Yeah,
Well, I
I
think
mean, we
eBay does. They try, they're putting concepts and procedures and legit checks and things like that into play for higher ticket items. So I mean, they're getting with the program. We just got to let it roll out a little bit more. Because now,
yeah,
even with high end clothing, they're legit checking $1,000 sweatshirts. You know what I mean? So it'll get
and
there.
it's great. It's crazy too because you still see fakes being sold, and it's like
Yeah,
they're fakes. So once they can clamp down more on that, just make the platform
yeah.
better. Melissa says, I'm still chilling with y'all. Hey, Marcus, are you still in Chris or text group? Haven't seen you there in a minute. Congrats on your group.
No, I haven't been a member of them in quite some time. Around the time we started this Patreon, I was no longer involved.
hmm Um, Vintage Vonnie,
It's just
I think.
funny.
Morning, Marcus. Never had any drama on eBay for the 3 years selling now. That's good.
Nice. Keep it that way.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah,
There doesn't need
you're
to
not
be in
missing
this.
out on nothing.
I think because of this business in general is a little bit more kind of there's not a lot of drama in it, so, like, you're
Yeah,
usually working by yourself. Most
yep,
people don't have employees. It's you're
yeah,
sitting in front of the computer. Like, the most drama you're gonna get is probably going to the bins,
yeah, yep.
and that's a
Every
whole
now
heck
and
of
then
drama.
you'll get
Depends.
every now and then you'll get like a buyer that's, a little ridiculous, but for the most part,
Yeah.
it's we got it made, man. We just need to be thankful.
Yep, for sure. Bobby, you said, "Let me tell you guys, honestly not complaining, but I have had the craziest experience of all starting back on eBay. Poshmark and Mercari were a piece of cake compared to eBay." Hmm.
Yeah, those platforms are a lot more easier to do your thing on, but as far as the traction and sales, eBay still is king.
Yeah. I mean, my Poshmark sales with the same amount of items cross-listed over, and while Poshmark's
Yeah,
totally different, I'm doing like $1,700 in sales in a month, and then on
yeah, me
eBay
too.
with like
Um,
14,600 I ended the day at.
Yeah, yeah,
Almost like so I it was a 732 yesterday. So almost what I did in one day was almost half
yeah,
of what I do on Poshmark in a month.
yeah. It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah,
So,
Poshmark's great, and I think people can do really well if they have like a
yeah,
really niche store.
I seen
Um,
somebody did 2,000 something dollars in a day, but it was all live sales on
oh, okay.
Poshmark. Yeah,
Yeah, totally different platform, and I think you've said this in a previous video, but once you get past like 2 or 3 or 4,000 items on Poshmark, that sharing is just
yeah, yep,
you can only share what 9,500 times in a day.
yeah. And it depends on what you're sharing with, because Flip stops me at 6,000.
hmm
So,
Yeah. Brienne says the thrift stores should be held accountable for selling fakes as well. There's at least one thing a month I pick
oh
up
yeah,
that isn't
for
legit.
sure.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah, and I've
recourse
even brought it
for
to
them.
I brought it to their attention, and they are well aware of it, and they still sell it.
Yeah.
So they don't care.
Yeah, especially with jerseys,
Yeah,
higher end stuff.
yeah.
They don't check that stuff. They don't care,
Some of them don't
you
even have
know?
the knowledge. You know what I mean? But then when someone else tells them, it's like, hey, this is fake. They either think you're lying, or they think they're just trying to get it for like even cheaper or something like that. But
Yeah.
they're not looking at it like this is illegal. Like what we're doing is a crime,
Yeah. There was
which
someone
is what
in
they should
in
do.
Yeah, there was someone in the group that said, I think it might have been William, but he had pointed out like, "Hey, this is fake," like,
Mhm.
100%, and then they
Yeah.
go, "Oh, okay, thank you for bringing it to our attention." They put it, like, under the table or under the check
Mhm.
cash register, and then when he
And then it
left,
was back
he
out.
saw that same item, like, the next day
Yeah.
back on the rack.
Yep. Yeah. Same
They
thing
don't
happened with me, man. I bought 3 St. Louis Blues hockey jerseys, and, I
mm,
got them back to the crib, and I started looking at them. I was like, "Man, these things are fake." So I took them back, and they was like, We don't do returns." And I'm like, "You guys broke the law by selling me these things. This is illegal.
yeah.
You can't sell me something that's fake." And then so they took them back, and then they put them back on the shelf. They're like, we're gonna rehang them up anyway." And so they did. And somebody bought them. I was like, "It's crazy, man."
What was the key indicator for you seeing that they were fake?
The stitching and then the size tag was in numbers instead of in sizes. Like it was in like instead of being a large or a medium or something like that, it was like 40 and 30 and it's like weird numbers. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is off. So I started doing research and I found out that they were fake. So
Yeah. Yeah, you
they look
shouldn't
so
be
good.
finding, that, and,
Yeah.
a lady in the group said yesterday, "Oh, man, I could tell these Nikes were fake because they were on Fruit of the Loom
For the
tags."
loom tags. Yeah, well, the other
Yeah.
day, man, like 2 weeks ago at the Benz, I saw a liquid blue Grateful Dead hoodie, and I'm like, "Oh, vintage tag." I'm like, "Sweet." So I started looking at it. I flipped the tag up, and then there's a Gildan like tag underneath it. I was like, "Oh." I was
They
like,
didn't
"That's
even, like,
definitely."
take the time to
They,
it's like they
they
do all
took
the work.
they took the top of the Gildan tag off that said Gildan, but then they left the bottom part that had the contents and where it was made at in there. And I was like, I recognize a freaking Gildan tag when I see one. Like I
Yeah.
pick up more Gildan than anything.
Yeah. Love Thug says, "Found a Supreme fanny pack at the thrift, afraid to list that thing in case it's not legit. I'm ready to give it to my 11-year-old daughter."
Put it on Poshmark.
Yeah. Yeah,
Supreme is
when
definitely highly faked, man.
yeah. Yeah, that is a good thing about Poshmark. If you ever just maybe don't know about a purchase you made, either the
Yeah,
Real,
the
Check
real,
app,
real.
Poshmark.
Yeah. Yeah, you could
Um,
do check and then that way you don't even have to send it into the real or something like that, and you can get your
yeah,
answer within like 30 minutes usually.
yeah,
And then if you really like just want to check on your own, just Google how to tell a real fanny pack from a fake fanny pack, and you can find a lot of information for free from just YouTube videos. But usually it's very, very simple to tell, like something's off with the stitching or like it doesn't seem high quality like it should for something that's costing as much money as Supreme does. There's usually easy ways to tell. So just do a little bit of researching and digging around, and then when all else fails, just put it on Poshmark.
yeah. There's a Goodwill that's the closest one to me. They get a lot of True Religion,
Hmm.
and it gets me excited. But the last few times I've been there,
Yeah,
they're just so fake.
yeah,
True Religion should never be made in China. So
yeah.
that's obviously the first one. But if you look at the stitching on the back, it's all crooked.
Hmm.
Um, doesn't have the correct rivets on the inside.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of things that you got to be aware about, especially in clothing when you
yeah.
see some of those higher end brands.
And
That's why I
sometimes
love
them
selling.
logos look smashed up instead of being clear and legible like it should be.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it's just good to bring awareness to that. You know, let's see. Your rounder says, "I take all my hype streetwear clothing to a local store that specializes in selling that type of
that's what's
stuff."
up.
Yeah,
That's a good
for
idea.
sure. Yep. Yeah, that's
Better
good.
safe than sorry, for sure.
Oh yeah. And one thing we really stress upon is being aware of some of these things, and that's what we talk about in our group every week, 10 hours a week. I want to bring up this schedule we've put together in our coaching program where we have structured calls to help you guys go further faster, whether you're a beginner reseller or 3 years into it. We're really trying to help you guys hit your goals. So you can
Yeah,
find it linked down below where we have a 7-day free trial. You can just try it out. You can see here everything is scheduled. We try to do a morning call that Marcus does, and then we try to do an evening call for people more on the West Coast. But we're really just strategizing as a group to really help take our businesses to the next level.
yeah,
The value and what I've learned so far since doing this group for about a year now is unmatched. Like I have
yeah.
not, you know, been able to learn as fast as I have in the previous 2 years before doing the group as I
Yeah.
have just in the last year from learning
Yeah.
from you, Marcus, other
Yeah.
resellers. And I think it's really a good community to be better together
Yeah.
if you're trying to get better in your business.
Yeah.
One call that I'm hyped about doing this evening is the scheduling call.
Yep.
Setting a schedule, figuring out when to time block your time to take photos, get listings done, is key to help you hit the goals that you want to hit.
Right.
So yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there for people that are trying to get better and maybe are feeling a little lost and overwhelmed with information.
Yeah.
Really want to help you guys and serve you to the best that we can.
That's right.
Um, and you can just try it out. 7 days free. It's not for everyone because not everyone's familiar with Discord and Zoom.
Yep.
But our passion and purpose is to really help people rather than sell clothing.
Right.
You and I, Marcus. That is one of our
Yeah.
things that really is
Yep.
fulfilling. So yeah, just wanted to throw that out there for anyone that maybe might feel a little lost starting out. We all do starting out as a
Yep.
reseller, and it's difficult because there's so much information.
Yeah.
But we're trying to bring some clarity to that.
Yeah.
Any last words on maybe the bad buyer experience, or maybe give some people some confidence on what to do in the future in case this does roll out in
I don't
US?
I don't really I don't really have anything else to say other than what I said, but just don't sweat it. Just do the best job that you can. If you're already in line with what eBay wants you to do, then this won't even apply to you.
Yeah,
I personally don't think it's going to come to the US. I haven't seen anything that indicates that it will. So me personally, I'm not even tripping off it until I see something that makes me think otherwise.
yeah. 100%. Good to be aware about it, but just keep
Hmm.
on. People who are crushing it, and most people that are watching right now are doing great.
Yeah,
You're already watching this, so you're already trying to get better.
yeah,
So I think just keep getting better, like 1% every day, a little bit of progress. And after a year rolls around, you're going to be so much better than when you first started. At the beginning of this year, I was all over the place. I didn't have a schedule. I was
yeah,
getting things done, but it took me 8 hours every day.
yeah,
Now that I
yeah,
have a system dialed in, 2, 3, 4 hours a day on eBay,
yeah.
that's great. And same for
Same
you
with me.
too.
Same with me. Yeah, I was working till midnight every night. Now I'm
Yeah.
I'm done with eBay. I just have to go pack my orders and
Yeah.
I'll be
Yeah,
done.
me too.
I was done with eBay before we even got on this podcast.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
and it's
beautiful
great.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys are catching in this on the replay and you have some feedback about the program that we discussed, and we want to hear your feedback. We want to know kind of what your thoughts are and how we can best help you. I think that change is inevitable and we need to initiate the change we need to see and not stay the same. So it's not
Yeah,
a surprise that eBay's doing this, but at the same time, if you're trying to get better, this should not affect you.
yeah,
But yeah, I appreciate you guys. I hope you all have a blessed weekend, and we'll
yeah.
catch you on Monday.
Take it easy,
See you.
guys.